Miguel Herrera is so Mexican. That's why it's so triggering to see him coach Costa Rica. It doesn't make any sense.
The Mexican national team may one day want to hire Bruce Arena, one of our greatest. Just say it. Yeah, just put it out there. Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome back to episode 2 of our 3-part Gold Cup preview series, our Gold Cup Overfloweth. And if you listen to episode 1, you'll know it's about USA with the mighty Herculez Gomez. Today, we're going south of the border, down Mexico way, to the 9-time champions of this competition, Concacaf Nations League defending champs too. US men's national team's biggest historic rival. Oh, it's El Tri, Mexico. We will also thumb through the entire race programme, examining all the runners and the riders in this quite bonkers mad summer. Oh, propelled by the singular wonder of the Gold Cup. And to help us make sense of this Star Wars cantina of characters, it's a joy to be joined by 2 gents whose content I truly love. They constantly celebrate the idiosyncrasies of our footballing region where no field is regulation, unless it contains a scattering of random lawn chairs. It's a pair of gents from the magical city of Austin, Texas. Oh, we're not talking about Willie Nelson and Matthew McConaughey, although I love their footballing podcast as well. From the immensely talented Give and Go, who honestly have become my must-listen take on all things footballing from our region. Check out their podcast and their YouTube if you don't already. It's the one and only Edward Reynoso and Christian Soltero. Reynoso and Soltero, welcome.
Howdy, how's it going, Raj? Good to see you. Big fan of the Men in Blazers show, and I'm happy to be on here for the first time ever alongside my boy Soltero.
It's a complete honor.
The honor's all mine. I've got to tell you, I've been listening to you really for the past 12 months with quite a wonder. You guys have opened my eyes after so many games with so many insights. And we are, I don't know if I need to tell you, just 365 days from World Cup 2026, but who's counting? But before we get to the main course, there's little aperitifs, the Club World Cup, the Gold Cup. It's going to be a summer of soccer in which fake spreadsheets will be up in offices across America as people drink in 31 games over 24 days on our very shores. Can you just describe for both of you, where is your case of Gold Cup fever? You know, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Between 1 and 10, ecstatically, where are you?
My fever is right now, it's bipolar. Some days it's 102 degrees. Other days I'm at a nice cool 98 degrees. And it's because as a USA fan, obviously we know what's going on with that team. We're sending our B/C team. It doesn't look good from the outside looking in. The buildup for the USA has been horrendous, knocking out of the Copa America in the group stage, firing our coach Greg Berhalter immediately after that. Pochettino's trying to figure out what to do. So that's when my fever really kicks in. But when you look at it from the perspective of Mexico, even Canada, Panama, if you want to, it's looking pretty good, and you should feel really good about yourself, especially if you're Mexico, because I think right now Mexico are the best team in CONCACAF. They just proved it in the Nations League in March. They have the best squad here on paper. Now they just got to continue that momentum and lift the Gold Cup in July.
God, let's get right into it and chop it up. About Mexico, bold claim, the best team in the region, as you just said. We should let our listeners know, orient them a little bit before we dive into this. You are a podcast divided, right? Break down your respective allegiances and how they came to be.
My allegiance lies with the one and only El Tri, Mexico. I live and breathe Mexican football, and I will die by my national team. We've had a bad, rough go these past couple of years, but finally, as Soltero mentioned, we're finally starting to seem like we're back on top. So in terms of Gold Cup fever, I'm bedridden, Raj. I'm bedridden right now, and I'm feeling really excited about that.
Can I ask you, how, as fans of each other's biggest international rivals, how have you created such a joy-filled podcast?
This is a great question. Honestly, I truly think it's just our natural love for the game itself. I mean, I will watch anything. I mean, Reynoso is wearing a Guatemala jersey right now.
Yes, sir.
As a true fan of Mexico. And I think that right there completely exemplifies who we are as podcasters, as people who love watching the sport. We'll watch anything, truly. Like, if it's African football, we'll be right there. If Senegal wants to fly us out to Dakar, we will go and we will cover the Senegalese national team. But of course, we have our allegiances. Reynoso's is Mexico. Mine is the United States. And I think, honestly, when I think about it, it really was just a cultural happenstance for me. I grew up in Sherman, Texas, and my family, it was just us. We didn't have my grandparents. We didn't have my aunts, uncles. It was just my parents trying to figure out their own life in Sherman, Texas. And I just ended up having a bunch of white friends ultimately. So I just grew up more American than I did Mexican. And so, yeah, I just naturally became more of a USA fan, though. Kind of like Reynoso, I do appreciate the other side, which is Mexico in this case.
You know what's amazing is we've always said on our show, and I think this is why I've learned to love yours so much so quickly, that it is about a love of football. That if we pulled up alongside a field and we saw there were two horses kicking a football around, we would stop and love even that football. And I think it was you guys covering the Asian Cup that first brought you to my attention. I was like, these guys adore football to such an extent. They are knee deep into like 24/7, just living, breathing the Asian Cup wonder. That was like, my God, these guys passion, these guys range. But let's bring it back closer to home for the Gold Cup and go deep on Mexico, because right now El Tri are one of the favourites to win this entire tournament. They headline Group A, which also includes Costa Rica, Dominican Republic and Suriname. Mexico, we know them, one of the proudest, most pugnacious collectives in global football, constantly aspiring, representing a country that is undoubtedly, absolutely mad for football. A population that feels every win and feels probably even deeper every single loss, every too soon Matt Miazga jab, deeply, personally, emotionally, profoundly. We talk a lot about football culture in America and how when things are going poorly, there's a bubble. You know, there's a core group who still cares deeply, but outside of that bubble, essentially, you don't hear much from the soccer curious or the media. It's invisibility. Football still lived in the shadows. But in Mexico, let's just say that has never been the problem. How do you all describe the passion bordering on mania that surrounds this Mexico team right now in Mexico and for Mexico fans here in America?
I think, just speaking honestly, I think it's one of the best fan bases in international football. It showcases itself every single time at the World Cup, especially when that Mexican national anthem comes around. You can hear it in the stands. You can hear the fans that travel as well. Because here's the fact about Mexicans. We're everywhere. We are everywhere, whether it's, Dallas, Los Angeles, or as we saw a few years ago, Qatar. Mexicans are everywhere, happy to represent their country and root for their country. And so if it wasn't obvious, we're going to have an incredible fan base at this Gold Cup. I'm just even more excited now because finally, for the first time in a long time, they have a team to be excited about, a team that they can actually root for, and that hopefully will actually get them results. You pair that with a really fun fan base, it could be a fun ride for this Mexican national team.
Let's break down the elements of current day reality. Before we do that, we should admit there was a somewhat unsightly 4-2 loss to Switzerland last Saturday in Salt Lake City that went against so many of the tropes that we used to talk about football, because the vibes have been immaculate lately for those Mexico fans finally emerging from a world of hurt, aka one of the darkest, most prolonged periods in their proud history. This was a team that got grouped in both the 2022 World Cup, worst performance at that competition since 1978. Guys, thought you were meant to be booted in the first knockout round. Bite your arm off for El Quinto Partido. And they suffered the same fate in last summer's Copa America. So last July, having hit rock bottom, Mexico football turned back to a familiar face with a peculiar set of skills. The 65-year-old wizened tugboat captain of a manager, Javier Aguirre, who returned for his checks notes third stint as manager of the team, riding with him as the stitch to his Lilo, his assistant and former captain, Mexican legend, the iconic Rafa Marquez, and the pair have just sauntered into 5 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss as a record. Gents, Aguirre is a man, let's just say his LinkedIn requires a lot of scrolling. He's been everywhere. He's seen everything. He's seen fire. He's seen rain. He's managed 8 teams in 5 nations since he last led this Mexico national team at World Cup 2010. What's his current standing in the eyes of the Mexico fan base?
I think his standing at the moment is a very, very good one, because what Aguirre has been known to do, especially with what he did with Mallorca as he was there in La Liga during that tenure was build an identity, build a squad, and maximize the team and players that he has around him. Mallorca, not a big club in Spain, and when compared to Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and Real Madrid, yet he was able to achieve some very incredible things with that team, going deep in Copa del Reyes and competing at a high level within the league. You transfer that over to Mexico, he really does represent that warrior aspect, guiding our young players, guiding this team, and making the most out of a squad that does have its limitations, but you pair it with his identity, with his tactics, and you make a really good, formidable side. I think people are starting to see that. They're starting to see that this is a reliable man. The James Bond of Concacaf. You ask him to do a job for you, he does it for you. He comes through. And he kind of looks like Mexican James Bond when you look at him. He's a handsome bloke. Yeah. And so I think he has a good PR right now around him in Mexico. If he wins us a Gold Cup after winning us a Nations League and after defeating the USA in a friendly back in October, things are just going to continue looking really, really good for Javier Aguirre specifically.
James Bond of CONCACAF. I do love his other nickname, other than the James Bond of CONCACAF, which is El Vasco, the Basque.
Yes, sir.
A reflection on his parents' roots in that wondrous region of Spain, and Aguirre's record this past year. Honestly, bettered only by his ability to take beers to the dough. I'm talking that quite literally. If you didn't see it, dear listeners, back in November, after a 2-0 first leg Nations League quarter-final loss in Honduras, as Aguirre walked off the field, someone in the stand thought it was a good idea to chuck a full beer that hit Aguirre flush in the head. It was quite devastating, visually, painfully, excruciating, left blood pouring from a wound onto his clothes. Really terrifying to witness, but Aguirre carried it off as if he was a gent who spent a night or two at closing time around the pubs of Liverpool. He just carried on like nothing happened, walked off the field completely unfazed, addressed it in his press conference stoically, said, yeah, it's fine, it's football. Mexico then kind of channeled his stoicism, summoning a 4-0 comeback win in the second leg. And they've never looked back in competitive games. They went on to win the CONCACAF Nations League victory in March, 2-1 win over Panama at SoFi Stadium in the final. How do you understand how El Vasco, third time back, has taken this team, a team that were bewildered, a team that were bleeding confidence, a team that were playing second-guess football, has somehow summoned what alchemy to turn the team around so quickly?
The turnaround that Aguirre has pulled off it's remarkable. It's one that I hope the USA can look at and maybe repeat in the coming months. But what Aguirre specifically done, what I think has really stood out, is he has simply taken his conservative coaching tactics and he's applied them to this Mexican national team. The beauty of it, though, is that this is exactly what this generation of Mexican footballers needed. They just needed a coach that helped them discover who they really are. In the past, we've had players like Carlos Vela, Chucky Lozano, Chicharito, very dynamic, attacking players. But that isn't this team. And they were confused for so many years because they were trying to play that old style. Aguirre comes in and he tells them, no, you're actually something different. This is not who you are. You're actually a defensive team. The best players for Mexico are defensive-minded. Johan Vázquez for Genoa right now, playing in Serie A, starting every single match. Cesar Montes playing for Lokomotiv Moscow in the Russian Premier League. Edson Alvarez playing in the English Premier League, one of the best leagues in the world. Defensive midfielder for West Ham. Those are Mexico's best players, all defensive in identity. Aguirre has taken those players and made them the pinnacle point of how they play.
You are right about that defensive identity. I mean, defensive solidity, defensive cohesion. I think Mexico conceded just 3 goals in 8 games before this weekend's loss. But the team has been like, almost like, if you can stay with me here, almost like a reverse Mexican Muller. It's been business in the back, party up top, because it's also got a front line led by that human wonder, Jen, who is familiar to all Premier League fans, Mr. Raúl Jiménez. His story is incredibly well known, but it bears repeating because frankly it's about tenacity, bordering on the heroic. 2020, playing then for Wolves, Jiménez suffered a horrific collision with Arsenal's David Luiz, left him with a major traumatic brain injury, a fractured skull. At the time it felt the dominant theory was he'll never play football again, let alone resummon his potency at the elite level. He was actually left off last summer's Copa America squad, but this season, it's almost like he's purified himself in the waters of the Thames with Fulham. Turn back time, scored 12 goals, 3 assists, surpassed Chicharito's record of Premier League goals by a Mexican player in the process. I think he's at 59 now. How do you understand? How have you guys experienced almost the Raúl Naissance, this 34-year-old player who was down, who was out, who was doubted, but has defied it all and sparked back to life and then some?
I mean, I experienced it with joy. He is an absolute must-watch player. If you're going to tune into the Gold Cup, he is a player to keep an eye on because what he's doing on the pitch is things that I didn't even expect or know that he could do in the build-up to this moment in his career. He's trying out back heel flicks. He's playing with so much confidence. The passes are going his way. The shots are going his way. Even the deflections are going his way. And then the free kicks as well. He's a free kick goal scorer now, apparently.
Yeah. He's a Mexican Declan Rice.
Mixed with Mbappe, mixed with Vinny G, everything's coming together for him. So I highly recommend watching him specifically because he is a showman just by himself. And you're right, the way that this team is set up, it's set up so that one player, one guy can step up offensively for us and absolutely shine and carry us. Raúl Jiménez has been that so far. So I'm truly curious to see if going into this Gold Cup, if he can remain hot and continue being that go-to guy for us up top.
Mexico are going to need Raúl because they'll be without that Club America wrecking ball in football boots, Henry Martin. He was forced to withdraw last week with a left hamstring tear. But as they say, where one door closes, another Jimenez opens. And we're talking about that AC Milan striker who, like Lil Wayne knows, real G's move in silence. A gent who absolutely lit up the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. Scored 65 goals in 3 seasons before joining our Lord and Saviour, Christian Pulisic at AC Milan. Santi didn't find the going quite as easy in Milan to begin with, scoring just 4 times. But gents, Santi has constantly been one of Concacaf's best number 9s in Europe, up there with Canada's Jonathan David. However, he's just 6 goals in an L3 jersey. I don't know how it's understood. Where his potency goes. Does the weight of the shirt weigh him down? His header this weekend, I think, broke a 16-game scoreless run with the national team, and he almost celebrated with relief more than joy. Will this finally be the competition we see him break out in?
Maybe. And I think that's all we can hope for as a fan. He's had so many opportunities since coming into the frame as Mexico's number 9. He was given the chance, as you said, Raúl Jiménez didn't even get called up for a couple of years, namely due to the injury and him trying to find his form back. Santi was given that opportunity, and time again, he just could not figure out how to be clinical in front of goal in the same way that he was in the Eredivisie. Henry Martin ends up getting the start over Santi Giménez, and now, honestly, Raúl Jiménez is the go-to striker for Mexico. Without Raúl, there are no goals. Truly for Mexico. So for Santi, it's up to him to use Raúl's influence, his experience, and try to figure out his own role in this Mexican national team. Aguirre, I really like what he's doing, though. He's putting both of them up top, a classic 4-4-2 formation, and I think that's going to help Santi out a lot. He's not going to have as much responsibility to be the go-to goal scorer, but kind of as we saw against their game against Switzerland, he can kind of feed off of Raúl Jiménez's chance creation.
We mentioned that Henry Martin injury. We should say this team will also be without a player Nas would call half man, half amazing, Chucky Lozano, whose recent surge in form, 5 goals and 7 dimes for San Diego FC in MLS, had him back in the mix under Aguirre. I was looking forward to seeing his return. He'd been left off that Nations League winning team in March. But gents, give us the backstory. Who are the 2 players who US fans may not have heard of on this squad that you think could play a key role in this competition?
I'm going to go with Roberto Alvarado, the winger for Chivas de Guadalajara, who has shown to really step up to the occasion for this team on the flank, specifically for Javier Aguirre. He was incredible during a Nations League run where we went on to become champions. And his influence, his passing danger, his ability on the ball has really improved so far. I think he's going to be a go-to starter for us, no doubt whatsoever, because him and Aguirre seem to really have a good connection, and he seems to understand the tactical plan that's in place for him to succeed. I think Roberto Alvarado is a player to watch out for if you haven't kept up with the Mexican national team so far in terms of those winger positions. Really exciting player.
And to add on the other side of the wing, you can look out for Alexis Vega, who just won a title with Toluca and Liga MX. He is in the form of his life, just slicing and dicing. When he gets on the ball, he's so direct, a great dribble penetrator. He's in his prime right now. Again, just coming off of a big title win in Mexico. And I think he'll be really good. Even if he doesn't get the start, he'll be such a good asset to have off the bench. But there's also other shout-outs we can give, man. Julian Quiñones scoring goals at will in Saudi Arabia. Gallardo, another Toluca player who plays left back for Mexico. He's going to be dangerous on the flank. So this Mexico team's looking really, really good right now.
Two players I want to give a quick mention to. 16-year-old, yes, 16-year-old Gilberto Mora, the Tijuana attacking phenom who became the youngest player to ever debut for the Mexican national team back in January when he took on the Brazilian club side Internacional. So young, so raw, so talented. Did I mention he was so young? Mexico fans will hope he can be nurtured, and they're not looking at how to say Fred you do in Spanish in the coming years. Almost the MySpace to Mora's TikTok, a gent who's taken out a fixed rate mortgage, it seems, on the goalkeeper position. Yes, 39-year-old Memo Ochoa's back. Unclear whether, did he ever go away? That's a philosopher's question. Unclear whether Memo or Club America's Louis Malagon will get the nod. But gentlemen, Mexico are so many people's favourites to win this tournament after the despair of 2022 and last summer's Copa. Nature is healing. What I'm interested in, how big a deal would it be for this Mexico team to lift this trophy? How big is the Gold Cup scene in Mexico? In the United States, with Christian sitting out, Eunice saying he didn't want to come, that half the American fan base are in the mentality, the Gold Cup, no big deal, no one cares about it anyway. I am imagining in the hysteria, passion-propelled Mexican fan base, they treat the Gold Cup slightly differently.
I think so. I think the Gold Cup does carry a little bit more weight because it represents regional dominance. It represents being better than Canada, Panama, the USA. That ultimately does matter to Mexicans, and it does matter to people in this region. The question of does it not matter, I think, plays a bigger role when you look at football worldwide, and if winning the Gold Cup really leads to winning any other trophies in world football, that's where I think the discussion becomes different. But when it comes to Gold Cup glory, I think it's something that Mexicans really want. And I would argue that this is a trophy that Mexico actually very much needs, because when you look at the trajectory they're building for themselves, what Javier Aguirre has been able to do with this team so far, we're trying to build momentum. We're trying to build excitement after being in the dirt, after being in the mud. I just had to shower because I've been in the mud for 4 years with this team. You mentioned it earlier in this podcast, Raj, that we couldn't even get out of the group at the 2022 World Cup. We have to remind ourselves that we are trying to build ourselves back up from one of the lowest periods in Mexican football. This is how we do it. We do it by being the USA when we match up against them. We do it by winning our first Nations League ever. And we do it by winning back-to-back Gold Cup victories. That's why this tournament matters. Viva Mexico.
Oh, not in the face, not in the face. We will talk about your final predictions in just one moment, but I do want to take some time to head almost into CONCACAF's coach class and celebrate some of the other wild and wonderful squads coming to the United States this summer, many of whom, honestly, in this moment, CONCACAF, there are so many true, sharpened threats. We are living in remarkable days for football in our region, starting with mighty Panama, best football team ever named after a Van Halen song. US men's national team fans listening to this will all say, too soon, too soon. They have felt Panama's wrath. When I say they, I mean we. It was a tactical masterclass, honestly, against our boys back in March, a game in which I was there. A quite obstinate Panama defence held our boys at bay the entire game, almost effortlessly neutered us, and then just waited for a chance. And in the 94th minute, my God, did they ever pounce. 34-year-old journeyman Cecilio Waterman noticed Matt Turner feeling the magnetic force of his near post, and Waterman one into the opposite corner before darting up onto the CBS broadcasting platform and telling Thierry Henry quite ecstatically, "You're my idol." This is a team that has been perpetually threatening the hegemony of CONCACAF's Big Three. Can this Los Canaleros team, led by the quite ambassadorial Dane Thomas Christensen, a tactical savant, go one better than their Nations League runners-up finish? Can they win the whole damn thing? Can we dream it?
I think if you're Panamanian, the answer is yes, truly. What they've proven over these last 3 years, this is the golden generation of Panamanian football. You have players like Coco Carrasquilla, who unfortunately is injured and will not be at this tournament, but he's one of the best midfielders in CONCACAF.
Big miss for this competition.
Big miss. But In his stead, you have a really good fullback, Michael Murillo, who wasn't at the Nations League. He is now here, plays in Marseille, very attack-minded, but also very balanced, good at tracking back. There's such good talent. As we saw Panama play against the USA, this team is so organized. They're so unified. They have such good chemistry. And it's all because of Tomas Christensen, who's been there at the helm since 2020. That's consistency you cannot buy in Concacaf, but Panama have it. And that's what makes them so deadly. They truly believe in themselves. Panama made the final 2 years ago in 2023. It was a tight match against Mexico. They just made the Nations League final, another tight match against Mexico. Both losses, but they've proven that they can get all the way to the final. So consider Panama definitely a title contender.
God, Thomas Christensen must just love Sancocho or something. I mean, it is incredible to think about what he's seen, what he's experienced there in Panama. To all Panamanian football fans, Godspeed. The rise of your footballing nation gives me such joy. As does that in one of my favourite countries in CONCACAF, one of the single most joyous places on planet Earth. Pura vida, baby. Those two words can only mean Costa Rica. Let's talk Los Ticos, a team that's now led, and I just love this, by the Mexican footballing legend Tour de Force, who captured our hearts and minds here at Men in Blazers during the 2014 World Cup when he was Mexico manager. OG Men in Blazers know exactly who and why that is. It's Mr. Miguel Herrera. Came on our show right after the 2014 World Cup, and I profess my love for him. Gent who lives with passion, lives and dies with every kick, every bloody single kick of the game in his technical area. I believe some of the images of him from that 2014 World Cup inspired, well, the Cocaine Bear movie poster. But I love this man, and I can't wait to see him square off against Mexico in the group stage of this Gold Cup, June 22nd at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City. How spicy will that atmosphere be?
That atmosphere is going to be incredible because Mexico and Costa Rica, we've actually been going at it for the past 15 years, I would say, because one of the most monumental moments between both these teams was when Miguel Herrera was coaching Mexico in the build-up to the 2014 World Cup, where Mexico was struggling to qualify. There was a lot of drama, a lot of worry, a lot of concern that this Mexico team was going to miss out on the Brazilian World Cup, a historic one. And it was Costa Rica who hosted Mexico and took it to Mexico and won 2-1 in Costa Rica in front of Miguel Herrera himself. I'm calling him the Mexican KD because he then goes on to join our rivals after they defeated us. And now he's coaching Costa Rica 11 years after, guiding them in a matchup against Mexico. I cannot believe the turn of events, but I mentioned Raúl Jiménez as one of the players to watch in this tournament. Miguel Herrera is the coach to watch in this tournament. Watch him on the sidelines because his passion, his energy is ridiculous. We've seen the Goku hair memes that have come out of his crazy celebrations. Can you imagine the atmosphere that he's going to bring to this Costa Rican team and to the match itself when we Mexicans see him across the sideline coaching against us?
I am interested, how is he seen in Mexico? Like the Germans see Thomas Tuchel leading England.
Miguel Herrera is so Mexican. That's why it's so triggering to see him coach Costa Rica. It doesn't make any sense. He's coached Club America, and he coached the Mexican national team based off of pure passion for the game, and he's won titles in Mexico. So it is so triggering to see him don that Costa Rican red and go against Mexico. You know, it's going to definitely be very, very spicy. I like that word to describe this matchup.
Maybe I've got to tell you, if there's a suggestion box, I just tell the Mexican national team may one day want to hire Bruce Arena, one of our greatest. Just say it. Just run it out there. Yeah, you're welcome. Fortunately for Miguel, he'll have one of the members of the 2014 Costa Rica team in the squad. 39-year-old Keylor Navas. He's back now of Newell's old boys in Argentina. I'm really looking forward to watching him. Also, Tim Ream talk about after the game, the two of them, you have to carbon date their age. Probably talking about how they both still relieve Y2K never happened and what a full circle moment this is for the Wu-Tang farewell tour. But let's get to another team led by a character I truly love, Jamaica, the Reggae Boys, now led by Chex Notes. Oh, if it isn't former England manager Steve McLaren, who since taking over this team, as is his way, developed a quasi-Jamaican accent, giving a massive boost to the big sunscreen industry. Jamaica team now, is ever more filled with, and this is a great direction for, but ultimately we're all winners in CONCACAF when this happens. More and more Premier League players with Jamaican roots are committing to play for the nation. I'm seeing recently Everton's Mason Holgate, and the story I really love, just 6 months after being involved in a truly horrific car wreck that left him out for a season. I mean, it was truly life-threatening. None other than West Ham's Mikel Antonio back on the roster, which is just joyous to see. The content that he's been putting out about how he will not take a kick of the football on any field for granted again, it's life-affirming. But gentlemen, Jamaica, a team we're constantly predicting are poised to shock the world, and by world, I mean CONCACAF. Can a case be made this could be their tournament?
I mean, the track record says no. And that's the unfortunate part, man. It requires so much
That was just me catching a balloon, sailing off, and you just getting out a pin and popping it. Yeah, exactly. The track record. Oh, damn pesky facts.
And that is the experience of following this Jamaican national team. You rise up in hope before a tournament, and then when that tournament comes, you just get popped and you fall back down to earth hard. You hit it hard. And then you have to come back up, and then you go back down. It's just up and down when you follow this Jamaican national team because, as you pointed out, the talent is there. It's completely there. Damari Gray as well, constantly accepting these call-ups, and that's going to help out this team. Leon Bailey wasn't even at the Copa America last year just because he didn't want to come. He just said, I'm not going to support this federation. Now he's here in the Gold Cup. So, okay, what do you really believe in then, Leon Bailey? I don't know. Like, tell me. Accept the call-ups more consistently. So all I can say is if you want to follow this Jamaican national team, the talent's there, but the results just have not been consistent. Maybe McLaren can change that. This is the opportunity, but the track record just hasn't been there for Jamaica.
I wonder who Jamaican Landon Donovan is getting mad at the players who are not taking the call-ups. I mean, in Jamaica's case, I will say we had Jaime Hamagrisson, my friend, the Icelandic dentist, formerly their manager. He came on our show to preview the last tournament. And my Lord, he was honest. I mean, I thought he'd talk about his team, his players, his tactics. Instead, he was just like, this is not a serious program. The level of corruption here is insane. There is no organization. We could be so good. There's just no infrastructure of any serious heft here. So, you know, the names, they are massive. The potential is enormous. Ultimately, I hope one day, my God, Robbie Earle brought in to run the Jamaican Federation, and the potential can be made real in great, great wonder. But until that day, we will always dream. I want to touch on a couple of other teams that are catching, I know, your eyes in this competition. We need to start with Honduras, a team that hasn't qualified for a World Cup since 2014. But Ed, you low-key like this side, and winger Luis Palma, Glasgow Celtic winger, went on loan to, I think, was it Olympiacos in Greece last season? We spoke before this recording, and I loved how you described his style.
I think he is the Honduran James Rodriguez. He's a pretty boy. He looks the part. He represents his country. He's young. He's playing in Europe, played in Europa League matches with Celtic FC. I believe maybe some Champions League games as well. But he's the star boy for Honduras. He's the guy to look for potentially something surprising happening for this team because as of right now, they still have a lot to prove. They're currently in first place in the World Cup qualifying group, but it's an overall somewhat weaker group in my opinion. So I think this Gold Cup will be a place to see where do they really land within the hierarchy of CONCACAF. They're coached by Reinaldo Rueda, who's trying to guide this team to glory once again. There's a golden chance available for this Honduran team. Mexico, Canada, and the USA are already automatically qualified to the World Cup. Honduras could be that fourth, fifth, or sixth team that steps up to represent CONCACAF. This Gold Cup will be a chance to build momentum. It's a huge moment in time for this nation.
God, whatever happens for Honduras, they are going to have crazy crowds. Those are games I'm looking forward to watching, not just for the football, but for the atmosphere. But Christian, I know the team you're looking forward to seeing Gold Cup debutantes arise, Dominican Republic. Team that includes a player who's once donned the iconic jersey of Real Madrid, and not just because he was a fan, he actually played for them. Tell me about the Dominican threat and Mariano.
This is why I love the Gold Cup. When we see these new Caribbean sides that no one has ever seen kick a ball before. And this is the opportunity we get to see. The Dominican Republic, as you just said, Raj, are making their debut in the Gold Cup. But not only that, this is their first appearance in a major tournament ever. This is the peak of Dominican football, a country that is dominated by baseball. This generation of footballers said, you know what? No, we're not going to have any of that. We're going to play football, the best sport in the world. And they've qualified themselves into a major international tournament. It's going to be a hell of a start, though, because they opened the tournament against Mexico. And this is where reality might set in, because this team has everything except experience. You know, they have great dribble penetrators. Peter Federico plays for Getafe. Wow. They have a really good midfielder, Heinz Morschel, who plays for Vizela in Portugal. He's actually German-based when it comes to his footballing education. Again, there's very risky players who just go at you, and Dorni Romero. They have Noah Dolenmeyer, an El Paso Locomotive center back, partnered alongside a guy who plays in Cyprus, Luigi De Lucas. This team has some really good footballers, but experience, I think, is going to play a big factor for this side. But let's just enjoy the moment for the Dominican Republic. There's so much to look forward to. There's two big absences, though, and it really sucks. Junior Firpo, I would say, is their biggest player when it comes to name. He's unfortunately just named injured. And that I think is going to be such a big miss. He plays for Leeds United, a great attacking fullback. And Mariano, a player who actually did don the Real Madrid jersey, did get called up, but there's been some weird confusion as to whether he'll actually accept it or not. And it's just not looking like he's going to come. He hasn't played football in over a year, so maybe that's a good thing when it comes to the national team. But either way, this is going to be a big moment for Dominican Republic.
God, imagine the team talk before they go out and play Mexico. Like, just remember, lads, you can't walk off the island. The other teams joining us for this summertime footballing aside, the United States will face Trinidad and Tobago, led by former Manchester United legend Dwight Yorke. I will just say, as an American fan, just saying the words Trinidad and Tobago gives me night terrors. Who do we open up with? Yes, the Soca Warriors this Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time at PayPal Park in San Jose. El Salvador, a mostly domestic-based squad that received a blow when 21-year-old Van Nuys, California-born Nathan Ordaz said he'd play for LAFC in the Club World Cup rather than his country. You've also got Haiti, Guatemala, Suriname, Guadeloupe and Curacao. A fascinatingly complex team who are actually led by Dutchman Dick Advocaat. Holy crap, remember him. Sunderland fans will do an incredible flashback from that 6-month stint he had there in 2015. One team we haven't mentioned, the Concacaf cousin, who's at the head table, and no one can quite figure out how they got invited to the wedding. Saudi Arabia. Gents, I know you're excited for this Saudi Arabian team. I can't wait to see how many buttons are undone on Hervé Renard's shirt as he leads his Green Falcons to face the US men's national team June 19th in your hometown of Austin. The answer is all of them. But before we go, I do want to get your predictions for this competition. Reminder, there's no third place game in the Gold Cup, so we're just going to do runners up and then the winner, Ed and Christian. You guys go first. Magic 8 ball it all for us.
I think we'll both just say it.
Same time?
Yeah, the champion is clearly going to be Mexico.
It'll be Mexico.
It's Mexico.
My beautiful Mexican side.
And I think it's a clear favorites for them as well.
It's Mexico. We're entering a Mexican period of success, one that gets me very, very excited. But I think Mexico does have the best squad going into this tournament, the best roster, the best momentum, the best narrative, the best story, the best stars. We can keep going. I think Mexico has it all set up to win, and what's going to be a very important moment for this Mexican national team in the build-up to 2026.
Oh, and who's going to come second, gents?
I think the second best squad here is actually Canada. Jesse Marsh led team. There's so much talent. Jonathan David, Eustachio, the names go on. I think Canada definitely could be runners up here.
I'm going to go USA on this one. Looking at the bracket, Mexico would be destined to face off against Panama in the semifinal, meaning that we're most likely to get a USA-Canada semifinal on the other side. You're going Canada. I'll back this USA squad on home soil. With still a very good team, despite big stars missing, it's still a really talented squad that can definitely make it to a final.
Oh my God. Can I just say, you're both going Mexico. I just say, my beautiful Patrick Agyeman says no. You both know at this point, because I'm an Everton and the US men's national team supporter, pretty much means I've got to rely on Gold Cup and occasional Nations League wins to experience anything approaching true joy. I know Mexico are hot. I know firsthand I spent time with Jesse Marsh. Canada are motivated. Everyone wants to beat the United States right now, but I'm going to treat myself to a heaping pile of delusion right here and ignore both of those facts and just go with my emotions, go USA. And the player who I do believe will continue his Linsanity-esque tear, breaking out of cult fans' adoration to take, honestly, centre stage, a late-breaking face of this team as we charge towards World Cup 2026. It's Diego Luna, gents. Yes, he wasn't phenomenal against Turkey, but you saw the glimpses. He was steamy into tackles, hard charging runs, drove the team forward late on in moments. USA beats El Tri in the final. Diego Luna is the player of the tournament. No matter who you support, you've got to appreciate Diego Luna, his story, his commitment, his passion, right, gents?
Oh, absolutely. He's so aggressive on and off the ball. Joy to watch because he just doesn't stop running. He's an absolute machine. He creates so much chaos. I think it'll be brilliant to see him just have this stage at the Gold Cup. It's very promising what he could bring. If he has a good tournament here, I think he could be a major impact player off the bench in 2026.
Yeah, he's one of the standout players in the Nations League for the USA. I mean, honestly, I just remember him swirling around the box, techers on the ball, dribbling ability. I'm excited to see what he can do now with probably a more amplified role with this USMNT national team. And who knows, if he has a good tournament, he can continue building out himself a spot in this squad in the build to the World Cup.
I had more than a spot. I've got to tell you, I like that idea, though, that he's a box swirler. God bless. I'm going to use that one for the rest of the Gold Cup on the road to victory. That is it. Our second of third Gold Cup previews is in the book. If you didn't listen to the first one, go back and listen to beautiful, beautiful Herc Gomez. We chopped it up about the US men's national team. Coming up, still we owe you an episode where we go deep on our neighbours to the north with none other than their manager. That is right, Racine, Wisconsin's own Jesse Marsh. Join me in person in New York City to talk about how he's approaching this competition. Go to Men in Blazers YouTube, smash subscribe, turn those notifications on so that you don't miss an episode. Please, 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 the complete coverage of this Gold Cup and Club World Cup. Check out these guys at the Give and Go. Guys, tell the people what they need to do to find you.
The Give and Go. Look us up anywhere. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, The Give and Go. You'll see our faces. Click that subscribe button and shout out Men in Blazers, one of the best networks out there regarding football.
You know what? The first part was beautiful. The second part was unnecessary.
I worried that it land the way I wanted it to.
This has been a real. I have loved speaking to you both. I do want to say I'm grateful for your time, your insight, your intelligence, but more than anything, the joy that you bring to everything that you do. I'm excited to announce you're going to run it back with us Wednesday, June 18th in Austin, Texas, because we're coming to your hometown ahead of the USA's clash against their traditional regional rival, Saudi Arabia. We're going to do a very special live show. Just you and me, the three of us, and one Mr. Clint Dempsey, really the crown prince of Texas. Holy crap, for a special taping of Clint's new show, The Juice. Are you ready for that, gents?
It would be insane to talk to Clint Dempsey. I cannot wait. One of my favorite players of all time, honestly, especially when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. It'll be great. We'll chalk it up. We'll talk football. We'll talk USA. And hell, we'll even talk Saudi Arabia. We'll get real deep into Saudi Arabia as well. So it's going to be a good time.
Can I just tell you, it will be a joy, although part of me kind of wishes he was playing in that game. That one will be at B.D. Riley's pub. And then Clint and I will head to Dallas, where we're going to do another live show at the famous Londoner Addison, presented by the GFOPs at Camarena Tequila. Both shows take place 7:30 p.m. and are free and open to the public. Come be with us. RSVP ahead of time if you can. It's first come, first served until those fantastic bars reach capacity. Oh, how often can you have a pint with the gents, me, dull old me, and Clint Dempsey? We'll put the RSVP link to both these shows in the pod and YouTube descriptions. That link will also be all over our socials. Reynoso and Soltero, thank you, you incredible human beings.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
And in the words of the great Tim Riggins, Texas forever. Big love and courage.